Fight review. Fight review. Get it? It's because I'm copying PewDiePie. Bronn versus Ser Vardis Egan has been probably the most suggested fight for me to review since the beginning of my fucking channel, and I have never done it for one reason, and that is simply because I don't like this fight. I'm not even gonna beat around the bush. I'm not gonna try and soothe the fans for saying how dare you criticize anything. I'm just gonna say it straight up. I don't like this fight, and reviewing it was incredibly difficult. Now you guys are probably already typing your hate comments, and I know everything that's gonna pop up. Things are gonna pop up saying like, Bronn was supposed to fight cat-like, very specific. Freaking Ser Vardis uses a sword that's heavier than his normal sword, uses someone else's sword, and it's not specified in the show, but in the books apparently uses someone else's sword which is heavier than his own, and that's why he's slower. Ser Vardis is armored and stuff. Bronn was trying to tire him out. Like, I've heard everything, and none of it changes anything that I'm about to say. So if you were planning on commenting any of that on this video, then I urge you to just keep watching this. Because I'm gonna, before the fight review starts, I want to explain those things because it will make a lot more sense going into the review, knowing what I think about it. If you don't care, then you just skip ahead to this time and go straight to the review. But even if you don't care, I still urge you to watch what I have to say because it's gonna make a lot more sense going into the review later. First thing is, Bronn fights cat-like. Does he? Really? I mean, this is the kind of the fan base explanation, which I'm not gonna go listen to. I never listen to the fan base explanation. Does Bronn fight cat-like? Not really. He fights pretty much like any other Westerosi person fights, except for that he dodges a bit more than other people. And again, those dodges are often very skeptical. Most of them are quite impossible to pull off in an actual fight. The only dodges that you can really pull off successfully and consistently are like a leg void. Somebody goes for your leg, you either lift your leg up or you switch leg position, and then the strike misses. Or simply stepping back, somebody strikes at you and he engages and you step back and the strike misses. You can pull that off. Anything else is really, really unlikely. Near to impossible. If you do pull it off, it's more likely luck than actual skill. And also your opponent would have made a mistake just in the first place. I would argue that Oberyn fights a lot more cat-like than Bronn does. And again, the fight between Oberyn and the Mountain, which was, in my opinion, very well executed, it's the same principle. Like, Vardis is supposed to be like the big, bulky guy and swing, armor heavy, and Bronn is supposed to be the quick, nimble guy, and it really doesn't show. Bronn, for the most part, just stands up straight, doesn't even bend his knees. He doesn't look very active. He's just kinda standing around, which I think is sad because I knew what they were trying to do with the fight, but I just didn't really see it that way. Second thing is, Ser Vardis has a heavier sword, and that's what makes him slow. Guys, this only works if you believe that swords are heavy, and they're not. Like a medieval longsword, a medieval two-handed sword on average is 1.6 kilos, or about 3.5 pounds. Now what would be a heavy longsword? 1.8 kilos. Let's make it 2 kilos. That's insanely heavy for a longsword. That's like 4.5 pounds, a little bit less. Would you think that swinging something that's 4.5 pounds would cause you to swing it like this, like a baseball bat? It doesn't. I can tell you right now it doesn't. But that's how Ser Vardis fights anyway. The reason that using a sword that's too heavy is inconvenient is because as the fight prolongs, your arms will get tired. Primarily your forearms, and that would make it hard for you to do delicate wrist movements quickly. Which means that if you have to switch position quickly, that's gonna be difficult because your forearms are tired from holding a too heavy sword. Maybe your front delt will get tired as well, that makes it a bit more uncomfortable to lift your arm. But other than that, it doesn't do anything, and it doesn't cause you to swing a sword like that. So that's not an excuse. But Ser Vardis is fully armored, and that's heavy, and that makes him slower. Okay, first off, he's not fully armored. For fantasy levels, yes, he's fully armored, but if you want to look at realistic combat, which is really what I'm going for here, then he's not fully armored. Like, swordsmanship developed in such a way that you would counter somebody in armor by stabbing the weak points in the armor. And what are the weak points in the armor? Well, simply the parts that are difficult to protect. Armpits, neck, eyes, and so on. You can't protect eyes at all, actually, because you need to be able to see. Now, costume armor, it really doesn't go there. Like, costume designers, they go like, it's really difficult to protect those parts, and we don't want to make the actor uncomfortable, so they just leave it open completely. So they make the initial target even larger. So that really, when I look at Ser Vardis and his full armor, that is really just not full armor, just simple. His armpit is not covered, there's just some gambits in there. You can stab him right there and he's dead. His eye slit in his helmet is huge. I get why they did it. It's for the actor, so that the actor can see. Because historical helmets have very small eye slits, and those made it very hard to see. But for a reason, they needed to be that small in order to be able to protect yourself. So when you're looking about actual realistic combat, the armor really doesn't do all that much in this case. And also, the idea that it slows you down is not true. Because armor, first off, is not too heavy for you to be able to move in it. You can do anything in armor. You can like fucking skip, jump over chairs, jump rope. You can do anything in armor. It's not too heavy at all. And if armor is properly tailored to your body, made for you, and it fits you properly, it does not restrict your movement. So that's not an excuse either. The thing that bothers me about this is mostly, it doesn't really have much to do with Bronn. It has to do with how Ser Vardis fights. And I understand why they did it. Again, they tried to make him look bulky and Bronn look quick. But because Ser Vardis is so incredibly slow and his movements are so obvious, it bothers me slightly because every single thing that Ser Vardis does can be countered in a million ways. The very first strike that he does, Bronn could have killed him. And Bronn is supposedly a very proficient swordsman, right? Any half-decent swordsman would kill Ser Vardis in a second, considering how he moves and how he is protected. There's not a moment in this fight, not a single moment, that Ser Vardis raises his guard. Same could be said for Bronn, by the way. Bronn never protects himself either. But Ser Vardis has a huge ass shield and he never covers his body with it. He is open every single second of the fight. So another argument that you can make is that Bronn was waiting for the right moment to strike. Well, if you look at it closely, every single moment is the right moment to strike because Ser Vardis is never protecting himself. He's always open. Bronn could have attacked him a million times in what, like 3 minutes that the fight lasts? So that bothers me as well. So keeping those things in mind, I'm probably going to be a bit more nitpicky than usual because of this. I'm already usually quite nitpicky according to people. I'm not nearly as nitpicky as I can be, but still quite nitpicky. So that being said, without further ado, let's jump right into the review. Fight! So it starts off with Ser Vardis doing an Oberhau and Bronn performing a static block over the head and pushing his opponent's swords away with his guard. Is that bad? No, not per se. Is it likely? Also no. I wouldn't really mind this or take notice of this if it didn't happen twice in a row, because the exact same thing happens right after, which I think is a bit strange. I don't really have a problem with these dodges. Bronn smacks Ser Vardis' sword out of the way, even though Ser Vardis did nothing. He didn't attack, he's just pointing it, and Bronn feels the need to smack it off to the right. This is one of those dodges that I was talking about that I didn't like. Like a dodge off to the side like that would only really be possible if your opponent is targeting like the very tippy top of your head in a diagonal slice, which is just odd. It happens a lot in movies and I really dislike it because in an actual fight that would just never happen. There's no way that you would be quick enough to dodge this. And Bronn didn't even dodge all that much. He moved a tiny little bit, so that swing was just ridiculous in the first place. This dodge is fine. I will take note though that it seems like Bronn is walking up the stairs, which I think is quite a bit strange because if he's supposed to be the nimble guy, then it will be beneficial for him to have like flat ground so he can move around a lot. Being on stairs just makes it more likely for you to trip, is what I'm saying. And since Bronn is not wearing any armor, tripping and falling on his head would be quite a problem. Also, having the high ground isn't specifically beneficial, like Star Wars wants you to believe. Now, Bronn jumps down here over the railing. I don't really get why. If you're talking about one of those right moment to attack kind of things, this would definitely be it because Ser Vardis spins around and he has no protection on his armpits except for measly gambeson. So Bronn could easily half sword and stab him right in the left armpit with his exposed right now. But instead, he doesn't, he just jumps off and prolongs the fight. So that is my realistic combat perspective of this. Now my entertainment perspective is quite a bit different because this is honestly very cool. It's timed very well and it looks good. Still, it's ridiculous though.
Stand and fight, coward!
What exactly was Bronn trying to do kicking that chandelier? Like, you're not all of a sudden gonna just burst into flames because a few candles fall on top of you. And although Ser Vardis isn't completely armored, he's still fairly armored, so even if he didn't have a shield, that thing hitting him would just be a mild inconvenience at best. So Bronn goes for a little slide maneuver right there with a nice wide stance, as you can see, instead of doing something like this or like this. At this point, I feel like that would be pretty. I feel like Bronn is skilled enough to do one of these things, stab him in the armpit or in the eye slit, which is huge. But all right, let's continue. Yeah, I just feel like this could have been prevented. Bronn knew the moon door was open, so he could have just, instead of backing off, he could have like maneuvered a bit away from it. But, you know, that would be less dramatic, of course. Oh, the drama. Is he gonna fall in? Oh, he's not falling in. Why does Bronn wait for Vardis to attack to move out of the way? I mean, you could say that he was trying to get him close to the moon door, but that's not true because after this he backs off again, right? So after he pushed Ser Vardis out of the way, he could have just sidestepped away from the moon door. Or even not, because Ser Vardis stumbled back a bit. This is quite enough time to just do a little sprint, a few steps to the left, and there you go, you're away from the moon door, you're out of danger. But of course that would be less dramatic. Like we didn't already know that Bronn was gonna fucking dodge this next strike. Look at how ridiculous that swing is though. He didn't even get close. Even if Bronn didn't move, he didn't even get close. Ser Vardis is really not being nice to his sword. That thing is gonna be dull as fuck hitting all those walls like he is. What the fuck was that? Did he fucking trip or something? Bronn tosses this guy around like it's nothing. Yep, that sword is dull as can be. And oh my god, look at how wide that eye slit is. Good god, that is huge. If that's not a target, nothing is. Finally, I will give him points for actually getting him in the armpit in a point that is actually not armored. Props for that. Really good. But it just took way too long. You could have done that 10 times by now.
Yes! Enough, Ser Vardis! Finish him!
Okay, just look at him up close. Look at how white it is. You can see his entire nose, and he's now wearing a gorget. His neck is open as well. Oh my god. Bronn, you could have killed this guy 1,000,000 times over by now. Here's some more of those ridiculous dodges that I don't like. Okay, that was pretty cool. Almost a Zwerghow. I'll give him props for that. And again, attacked on a spot that is not armored. So more props. Ser Vardis can still walk after his leg was cut like that? Okay, I'm kind of confused now here because if you look between his legs, You can see that there's mail there, or at least there's supposed to be mail there, right? But there's no mail on his arms. So is he like wearing a sleeveless mail shirt underneath his breastplate, but not his arms? What's going on here? And he got stabbed in the neck next to his armor. Again, honestly, props for that. Props for not going straight through the armor.
Is it over?
Yes. Yes, it's over. So that was it, guys. I hope you enjoyed. If you stuck around this long, you might as well subscribe and also follow me on social media. Links are in the description below. And thank you for joining my quest, and I hope you'll join me in the next one. Bye, guys.